Part 3, Segment 1, 600 words. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, my boutique had expanded to a second location. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Mark struggled to piece together his new life, the little shop he'd once dismissed was thriving. I'd hired 3 new employees and launched an online store that was gaining national traction. News of Mark's situation trickled back through mutual acquaintances. He tried dating apps, but women his age weren't interested. In a man living with his parents, and younger women, having heard the gossip, kept their distance. Melissa, it turned out, had warned her friends about him, even sharing screenshots of his increasingly desperate messages after she left. His career hadn't fared any better. The company's HR department launched an investigation into his relationship with a subordinate, leading to a formal reprimand. The promotion he'd been counting on went to someone else, someone without a history of office gossip and bad judgment. He's claiming age discrimination now, Amanda told me during an unexpected visit to the boutique. But HR just added that complaint to his file. Her presence said more than words. Mark had alienated even his own family. "I know we didn't support you at first," Amanda admitted, running her fingers along a silk scarf. "He played the victim so well, but then we saw the texts, the bragging, the cruelty. I'm ashamed we ever believed him." My lawyer kept me updated on Mark's attempts to challenge the divorce settlement. Each petition was denied, his claims unraveling under the weight of his own documented mistakes. "He actually tried saying the text about emptying your account was just a joke," my lawyer said once, laughing. The judge asked if haha made theft less illegal. Meanwhile, my boutique's success brought unexpected validation. Local business magazines began reaching out, not to discuss my divorce, but to feature me as a savvy entrepreneur. Young women asked for advice on how to protect their businesses. "The best protection is preparation," I told one aspiring boutique owner, "and always trust your instincts." Mark's mother called occasionally, usually after he'd done something particularly self-destructive, gambling, getting involved in pyramid schemes, blaming everyone but himself. "We tried to help him," she sighed during one call, "but he refuses to take responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. You, Melissa, his boss, the judge." I listened politely, but didn't engage. Their family drama was no longer mine. I had bigger plans. A third boutique location was in the works. I was also exploring a luxury accessories line. The only lingering trace of Mark was a framed screenshot in my office, his final text, the one he sent before I blocked his number. "Have fun with your little shop. At least it'll keep you busy in your old age." Beneath it hung my latest business award, proof that the best revenge is thriving, on your own terms. 1 year after the divorce, I hosted the grand opening of my third boutique. Local media covered the event, but the story wasn't about betrayal. It was about resilience. A woman who had turned pain into power, who had protected what she built and come out stronger for it. Mark had tried to write my ending with one cruel text. Instead, he gave me a beginning. Part 3, Segment 2, 901,000 words. By the time my third boutique was running smoothly, I no longer thought about Mark daily. The man who once shared my bed and bank account had faded into the background, a cautionary tale rather than a looming presence. But life has a way of circling back, not out of cruelty, but to remind us how far we've come. It started with Melissa. Not that Melissa, a different one. Young, ambitious, and sharp-eyed. I'd hired her as an assistant manager at the new location. She'd graduated with a degree in retail merchandising and had a knack for both design and customer service. One afternoon, as we were rearranging a display of Italian leather handbags, she paused and looked at the framed quote above the register, "Success is the best revenge." "Did something inspire that?" she asked, curiosity shining in her voice. I smiled. A man who thought I'd fall apart without him. Her eyes widened, but she didn't press. She understood. Too many women did. That quote had become something of a motto across all 3 locations. Customers often commented on it, some snapping photos to share on social media with their own stories of strength and survival. What began as a symbol of my personal triumph had evolved into something bigger, a quiet rebellion against underestimation. It was around then that I received the invitation to speak at a regional women's entrepreneurship summit. The email was flattering, almost surreal. Keynote speaker, business panelist, mentorship roundtable. The story they wanted wasn't about betrayal. It was about strategy, foresight, and the subtle power of preparation. I stood on stage that spring, looking out at a sea of driven, curious faces. I didn't talk about Mark's text message or Melissa's giggles at office parties. I talked about building a brand, about separating emotion from finances, about not being afraid to ask uncomfortable questions about money, who controls it, where it goes, and what protection looks like. During the Q&A, a woman asked, "My fiancé says I'm being paranoid for keeping my store's bank account separate. That marriage means sharing everything. What would you say?" I didn't hesitate. "My ex-husband said the same thing," I replied evenly, "right up until he tried to take half of my business. Trust your instincts. Protection isn't paranoia. It's smart business." Afterward, dozens of women approached me. Some asked for advice. Others just said, "Thank you, I needed to hear that." The boutique wasn't just a business anymore. It had become a symbol, a space built on autonomy, resilience, and the hard-earned lessons of a woman who refused to be someone's stepping stone. But life had one more surprise in store. 2 weeks after the summit, I stepped into my original boutique to check on operations. As I crossed the showroom floor, I recognized the woman near the accessory display immediately, Melissa. That Melissa. She turned just as she saw me, the tension obvious in her shoulders. She looked softer. Not meek, but humbled. I wasn't. "Sure if I should come," she said quietly. "But I wanted to say something. I owe you an apology." I said nothing, letting the silence stretch. She took a breath and continued. "I believed everything he told me. That you were cold, unsupportive, that you didn't understand his dreams, but then I saw the pattern. The manipulation. The way he blamed me when things went wrong. It wasn't about dreams. It was about escaping." Her honesty surprised me, but I respected it. I continued folding silk blouses as she spoke. After, "You froze the accounts. He tried to move in with me. He said it'd be temporary, but within 2 weeks he was complaining about my tiny apartment, asking me to take out a loan so we could get a bigger place. I realized then he didn't want a partner. He wanted a host." I let out a small, genuine laugh. "Let me guess. He had big plans, but no actual way to fund them?" She smiled, sheepish. "Cryptocurrency, a podcast, some real estate thing his cousin pitched. It all fell apart." I nodded. "It usually does." Before she left, she paused by the door and looked around. "You built something incredible. I see that now, and I learned a lot about him, but more about myself." When she walked out, I didn't feel bitterness or triumph, just closure and maybe a bit of pride. Mark's betrayal had once threatened to unmake me. But now, standing in the heart of a business I'd built brick by brick, I saw it for what it truly was, a catalyst. His cruelty hadn't broken me. It had sharpened me, focused me. That evening, I poured a glass of wine, sat in my office, and opened a document labeled Expansion Plan, Phase 4. Because while Mark had been busy trying to rewrite the story of his failures, I had been busy writing the next chapter of my future, and it was only getting better.